Hey groupers, Pastor Marshall here. Hope you're enjoying our walk through the Gospel of Mark so far. I know that I am. We're in the second chapter, one of my favorite stories when Jesus heals the paralytic. But before we get to that story, what are some areas in your life, what are some areas in life where it would be the most tempting to invite Jesus to upgrade us instead of remake us, instead of transform us? What are areas of our lives where we would be most tempted just to say, I'm doing pretty good. I just need Jesus to finish it off for me, instead of inviting him to make us completely new? Well, the story of the paralytic. There are several characters in this story. Talk for just a minute about how these characters show faith. How do the people that came to Jesus show faith? They came, they found out he was home, they came to hear his teaching. How do they show faith? How do the men bringing the paralytic show faith? How does the paralytic show faith? And then finally, do the teachers of the law show any faith? If they do, what does their faith look like? How do they show faith? How is faith in God's ability to do something through us related to our tenacious, persistent to getting it done? Do you understand what is the relationship between our faith that God is going to use us and us working on something on our own or working on something tenaciously? What does that look like? How does faith in God's ability to do something through us relate to our own tenacious getting it done ability? Who all have the right to forgive sins? Who has the right to forgive sins? What can they forgive? What can't they forgive? Well, what does Jesus' title, Son of Man, say about his purpose on earth, his incarnation? He calls himself the Son of Man. What does that title mean? What does it say about his purpose for coming to earth? What is the difference between circumstances and needs? And how can the church avoid getting caught up in addressing circumstances and focus on addressing true needs of people? What's the difference between circumstances and needs, and how can the church avoid getting caught up in doing the wrong one? What has your experience been with fasting? And how can fasting, or why is fasting so easily create spiritual pride? Why does fasting so easily create spiritual pride in people? And if we do fast, or if you do fast, how do you avoid spiritual pride? How do you avoid this temptation? Take a moment and just explain these patches and these wineskins. Make sure everybody in your Bible study understands, what is Jesus' point about sewing on a new piece of cloth to patch an old piece? What is his point about new wine going in old wineskins? What is that all about? How does it work? What is Jesus' point? And then, because he's talking about traditions, can you think of any traditions or practices that we have added to the Bible today in California, in Southern California, in Lakeside, at Lakeside Christian Church, in America? Can you think of any practices or traditions that we've added to the Bible that are disconnected from Jesus, disconnected from the Bible? That should be fun. Well, every week I try to remind you to pick up your application again. And our application this week was very specific and a challenge. Have you told Jesus this week, I'm not good enough? Not, Jesus, upgrade me, but Jesus, I need to be transformed. I'm not good enough. Well, I hope that you have a great Bible study, and I look forward to seeing you next week when we talk about Jesus and his family. God bless.